Hello everyone, it's me, FelNE, and Paradox Breaks has a menacing time-bending behemoth dubbed the Chronovore. This behemoth is armed with a vast array of attacks that have been notoriously wiping teams out. So to help reduce the trouble this behemoth has been causing, let's talk about the Chronovore in this week's Behemoth Breakdown. Starting off with tips, if you have Urska's weapon, its ability is super helpful for interrupting and slowing down this very fast behemoth, especially since Ray, yes that's the nickname I call it, spends absolutely no time on the ground even after being booped. And if you choose this weapon, you can use Pangar as a bond for this weapon, which has been quite useful for dealing damage to the wing, but more importantly, it makes it much easier for both you and your team to see which wing is being targeted if you're going for breaks. Alright, next, let's quickly go over how to spawn the behemoth and where you need to go to do it. To begin the prep work, you need to collect chronostones by slaying behemoths on the Paradox Break Island. Once you have enough, visit these ancient ruins located all the way over here and activate this post to begin the event. Be aware you do need to take down 2 behemoths before you can hunt the Chronovore, so use your supplies only when you truly need it. Now that we have covered most of the tips working up to this behemoth, let's finally go over what Ray has in store for us. First, let's go over its Aethercharged and Enraged state. Starting with the Aethercharged state, the behemoth will create and orbit around a blue aura before disappearing. Shortly after, the Chronovore will appear once again and release a powerful wave upon impact. This will put the behemoth in its Aethercharged state, and many of its moves will create a radiant ring that expands outward. Running through this ring will quickly eat away at your HP, so make sure you dodge through or jump over the ring to avoid taking damage. Up next, we have the Enraged state, which the behemoth enters by quickly sweeping the area before raising up and entering the state. I will mention that it is possible to tell the difference between this and a normal sweep, and that is due to the slightly higher pitch of the sound this behemoth makes before the execution. Once the Chronovore is in this state, the behemoth will be much more aggressive, and its sweep attack can be used up to 3 times in a row. Fortunately, this is interruptible, and this state doesn't last very long. Before the Chronovore decides to exit out of this state, the behemoth will somewhat cover itself before teleporting to another part of the arena and unleash in all directions a barrage of radiant waves. Each time the behemoth plants itself on the ground and pops back up, more waves will appear. And if the behemoth happens to be Aethercharged as well, radiant rings will also spawn, making it quite tricky to avoid. After that, the behemoth will plop down one last time, hold its charge for a couple of seconds, and release a dangerous wave that is capable of wiping out a group. If you manage to survive this attack, the behemoth will be tired and exposed for a few seconds. Alright, let's break down the remaining moves this behemoth has at its disposal. Rush is an attack Chrono can use if the player is at a distance. This move is interruptible if you are able to nail it during its charge. Briefly raising its head, Chrono will sweep around the area with its body, and unfortunately this little warning is all you're gonna get. So do your best to memorize the body language of this move as soon as possible, because trust me, you're gonna get hit a lot if you don't. Quickly rising up, the behemoth will use its tail to sweep underneath its body. It's fairly quick, and just like the previous move, you will want to memorize this move as soon as possible. And Whip is when Ray slings its tail each time it does a barrel roll. This attack also has a frontal version that hits players directly in front of the behemoth. In most cases, I find this move hard to get hit by, especially if you're up close, so playing aggressive here is a rather safe option. Balling itself up, the behemoth will slam slightly off to the side, and if this is being used during its Aethercharged state, the impact will release a radiant ring. An easy way to dodge this is to look up to see when the behemoth drops down. Very similar but much more frequently used, Ray will curl up high in the air and smash its face into the ground, which creates a ring if it's Aethercharged. And just like the previous move, you can look up to help time your dodge. Rotating its body, this move will pull players up and towards the behemoth, and players nearby the fins are likely to get hit, so the minute you see Ray start rotating, move away from the sides of the behemoth if possible. Next, we have Coil Stance. This stance has 5 different moves it can use while in this stance, so let's go over each one. The first one is a Radiant Breath attack that will encase the Slayer in a small dome. The second is its ability to use Sweep. The third, the behemoth will snake strike a target, and if you time it correctly, you can punish this attack and interrupt the behemoth. The fourth, it can fire lasers at the players that are in front of it, and the fifth is basically a get off me move that can be avoided if you space yourself just a little. Next, the startup animation of this move looks a little similar to its Coil Stance. However, you will see it expose its underside as it turns around. As of now, I have only ever seen this move during its enraged state, so if you are up close, especially when you're behind Chrono, be prepared to dodge. Quickly looping and curling its tail, 3 lasers will fire and spread across the ground in front of the Behemoth. In most cases, you can simply move out of the way. If you're up close and in front of the Behemoth, I would dodge off to the side, or if you're really close, dodge underneath just to play it safe. Circling in the air, Chrono will briefly disappear and then reappear with a beam of light that will pull a player in the air and then drop them. This attack is used very frequently, especially when the target is far away. To avoid this devastating move, dodge roughly a second after the Behemoth disappears. Well, that should cover everything you'll need to know to hopefully take down this troublesome Behemoth. Don't forget to like or dislike, and if you want to stay up to date, subscribe. If you want the latest news on what I'm working on or doing, or even perhaps wanting to get involved in giveaways, follow me on Twitter. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you once again in Dauntless.